I didn't grow up with my dad, but he would try and do weird, like, you know, I did something to piss off my stepmom, and then he'd be like, he'd get home, like, she said you did this, and he would just, like, bend me over and just stick it to me, you know. No, I'm just kidding.
Whoa, wait a minute. Okay. Whoa.
No.
Hey,
he would,
take it easy.
He would, like, no, but for, like, I was saying that story to the other day, and I was like, and then he just bent me over, and they're like, whoa, and then I was like, and he stuck it to me, right, and they're like, I'm like, I'm kidding, but he did bend me over, and he started, like, spanking me, right, like,
yeah.
I was picking up poop, like, last week with my dogs. I literally went to pick up poop, my back went out, and I was like, at the Pearl, I was like, in San Antonio, and, like, there's, like, 3 hot girls, and they're like, oh, your dog's so cute, and I was just like, and I just pulled my guy, come here, Rona, let's walk away, like, and I walked, and I was just like, cool. I was like, I was picking up crap, and I blew my back out, right?
You're walking like your dad bent you over and stuck it in.
He's like, come here, teach you a lesson, boy. And I was like, what?
What's going on, my people? Welcome back to the IGLOOSIVE podcast. Today, I am very honored to have this guest. This dude is a complete badass. He's a Marine, sniper, he MMA fighter, he fucking did Naked and Afraid and survived all 21 days. Give it up for the special guest, Justin Governale.
What up?
Now we getting busy, bridging the gap. Born in the game.
Yeah, man. Yeah. Appreciate you coming on, bro.
Thank you, man.
Excited to have you, dude.
Yeah, me too.
It's
hashtag me too.
Yeah, hashtag me too. There it is. I love it, dude. It's crazy, man. I had heard about you from my buddy Aaron Suarez, and he was telling me, dude, this would be a great guest to have on. And I'm going to be real with you. I watched the episode of Naked and Afraid last night, and that shit, fuck, dude. The stuff that you went through and that you tolerated on that show with just the environment, and I'm going to be real, your partner too is kind of, you tolerated a lot on it, and
yeah, man.
It was it's amazing, bro. Like, congratulations on that, first of all.
Thank you, man. It's fun.
I know that I'm a bitch, dude. Like, even when like y'all were walking on like the grass and those rocks, I was like, I'd probably just bounce out right there. Like, this is it for me.
Yeah, it's a trip, man. Like, all I kept thinking about was, like, we're meant to survive outside, right?
Yeah.
Like, your body adapts. This is what I thought about when I was out there. You have nothing but time, right? And I think about how, like, your ears, like, I fight, right? Or I fought for a long time. Your ears will evolve, right? They, like, get calloused, but they become like pads in a way, right? If you lift a lot of weights, right, that's simulating, like, back in the day, you lift a lot of rocks and stuff or whatever, heavy objects, your body will adapt accordingly, right?
Right.
So when you're out there, it's crazy. My feet have not actually shifted back, but my feet got wider.
Really?
On the show. They start getting more muscle, and ever since I got off, they're still wider, right? And you know what they say about, like, the foot size, right? That did not change, actually. It got smaller, actually. Right? But yeah, man, it's a trip, dude. Like, you're supposed to survive, and we don't know how to do it.
Yeah.
Because I always bring this example up. You always do this, right? So you're looking here versus externally, because we have so many distractions, like stop signs, stoplights, like, you know, horns, except, like, you have to pay attention to modern world, right? And you're paying more attention to, like, the city and your closer environment, like your phone. Yeah. You know, like, right now we're not getting beat up by the sun.
Right.
We're in an air condition. The sun's super hot outside, but, you know, if we were out in the middle of nowhere, you'd have to be efficient, and you wouldn't be out in the sun. Maybe you're resting all day, or maybe you're getting stuff to cover yourself in the sun, and, you know, stuff's going to dry up, et cetera, et cetera. So what I'm getting at is, you will survive. Like, I'm sure you heard about those little kids recently.
Which ones? What
the ones that survived in Colombia.
Oh, yes, I did hear about them.
Dude, they went 41 days, and one of them was 11-month-old, or 11 months old, right?
Yeah.
And they crashed in a plane, and their mother, unfortunately, did not make it. Neither did the pilot. Mother lasted like 5 days. I believe she had an injury. But then 4 children survived 41 days in the Colombian jungle. You know what I mean?
That's insane.
So, you know, I was like, dude, like, the 11-month apparently had some first words, and the first words were, "You're a bitch, Justin." Like, right? Like, it's crazy, dude. What I'm saying is, like, the will and grit of children that have not been torn down yet by the world and taught, like, you know, they haven't matured and grown up in a day and age where you're taught everything per se. They just kind of figured it out and they made it, and that's absolutely bizarre. But if you think about it, humans were designed to do that kind of stuff.
Right.
If you will survive. If it's, it's in your DNA, it's encoded into you, you will survive just like anything else in life. And if you don't, I hate to say this, but like you're kind of like you were supposed to die off.
Yeah.
Like if somebody gets out there and they're just like, can't do it, cool, there's no tap button, there's no like, hey, we're done here, there's none of that. And after so many times of saying it, you have to make a decision. Like, are you just gonna die or are you gonna figure it out? You'll figure it out. I promise. I promise, dude.
Yeah.
And that's all I kept telling myself when I was out there. I was like, I just imagine I was in a plane crash and they said help is coming in X amount of days, and every time that I would get like, it would like hurt mentally or whatever, I'd be like, I can make it, dude. Like,
yeah, you kept telling yourself that, man. And your partner, she was going through the motions, man. Like she just wasn't there, like mentally at all, And I know that hearing that and hearing the negative talk, you finally were like, I can't do it.
Yeah.
And I feel that, like, because you get around people that are negative, it brings your mood and your spirit down. So I can only imagine out there, especially when you're trying to do everything, you're catching like these little fish, but you have to split it, and it's kind of like, what are we doing, bro? Like, like that's
it's a metaphor, man. Like I'm sure you saw in the show how I said something like, I grew up sleeping on floors,
Yeah, I was going to ask you about that too.
Man, I pride myself on that, right? And I always say to people, like, you have two decisions, and this goes for anything you do in life: TV show, no TV show. I saw your post the other day, right? Like, we all have losses in life, right? That's what life is. Right?
Yeah.
I've got plenty of losses in fighting, right? But how do you handle adversity and a loss? And again, I didn't have a bed till I was 11. So, I was talking about this the other day, how like I've always just been such a tough kid. My parents split at a very young age. I was telling someone this story the other day, how like I did something when I was a child. My parents split when I was young. I didn't really grow up with my dad, and my dad would spank me and my mom would not. But my dad's super white and my mom's super Mexican.
Yeah.
They didn't work out, right? Mm-hmm. Love my mom to death. She is a recovered alcoholic, right? Recovering right now. But I grew up, around the chaos. Mm-hmm. And when you learn at a young age that like crying doesn't get you what you want, it just doesn't.
Yeah.
So you just start learning to internalize it, and you just start being like a hard motherfucker, right?
Right.
And so like I said this example the other day, how I didn't grow up with my dad, but he would try and do weird, like, I did something to piss off my stepmom, and then he'd get home like, she said you did this, and he would just like bend me over and just stick it to me, No, I'm just kidding.
Whoa. Wait a minute. Okay. Whoa.
No.
Hey,
he would
take it easy.
He would like, no, but for like, I was saying that story to the other day, and I was like, and then he just bent me over. They're like, whoa. And then I was like, and he stuck it to me, right? And they're like, I'm kidding, but he did bend me over and he started like spanking me, right? Like,
yeah.
And I remember just being such a tough kid from my upbringing that I could not give him the satisfaction of crying.
Wow.
Right. I couldn't like bam, bam, and I couldn't like, I just like, I just held that shit in, right? Like, I will not I'm not going to sit here and cry because then you win, right?
Right.
Like, and I was telling that to a girl the other day, right? And she's like, dude, that's like a lot of what you do now makes sense. Like, if I get sick, I won't go to the doctor, which typical, stereotypical man stuff or whatever. But
right.
Yeah, man, like I had a broken arm when I was a kid. I had a broken arm for 3 days until I finally was like, Mom, I can't take it.
Jeez.
I tied a black trash bag with my teeth and around my arm, and
Fuck,
I was
dude,
like
little
13.
Rambo shit.
But like, what I'm saying is like, I grew up at a very young age. I didn't have a bed till I was 11. I bounced home to home, and it would be like, hey, sweetie, we're moving again. And I'd be like, yeah, where are we going now? Like, yeah. And then you start getting older and you realize if my mom didn't have like that much money, she would cook food. And then she wouldn't eat because she'd be like, oh, I'm not hungry, sweetie. And she would watch me eat. And so I started picking up on it like prior to 11 years old, right? Because my mom got remarried to my stepdad. I'm pretty fortunate, man. He like gave me a house and stuff, right? But I started realizing even at a young age, I'm like, she is hungry. If I eat too much, she's not going to eat, right? And I'm not saying this to be like, I'm so tough and grew up so hard. It was just the reality, right? So
right.
I would just eat a little bit less, and I'd be like, oh, no, I'm not hungry, Mom. I already ate. She's like, are you sure? I'd be like, and then she'd just go and like eat, right?
Yeah.
So it's like pretty badass. She always took care of me, but I just grew up like super tough. So a lot of the, I guess, big reason of why we are who we are today, a lot of it's your upbringing, right? I could sit here and be like, the Marine Corps made me tough, but I would argue that I was just born into this world and I had to make a choice pretty early. Like, are you a fucking warrior or are you a victim? Every day you have a choice. Or am I just gonna sit there and cry and like today everybody's real big on like even memes on Instagram, like my traumas. Like
Yeah.
dude, shut the fuck up, man. Like
Yeah.
some of it's just life, dude. For sure, yes, you're hurt.
Right.
But like don't sit here and be a fucking bleed and be a victim the rest of your life. Like,
Right.
Be a strong human that has overcome adversity just like our ancestors have done for hundreds of thousands of fucking years.
Yeah.
You think they gave a fuck about like, you know, oh, you said this, that's so offensive. That's cool. You're offended. Oh, you don't want to hunt today. That's cool. Just go fucking die. Like go starve to death, right?
Right.
And so when I was like on that show on Naked and Afraid, that was my main strength was like and like I smile. You see, even the smiling, that's a coping mechanism, right? Because I like want to start laughing, like, oh, it's so crazy. But in reality, there was pain, right? Even that little smile, because I would think about every person has had a rough childhood or wah, right? Poor me. But there were some moments that they were pretty damn tough, right? And all I could remember was that at night when I would want to go to sleep, like crying wouldn't get me anywhere. So I would feel this real shitty feeling inside and I would just internalize it, right? And I would think of when I was on Naked and Afraid, I would start thinking about my upbringing and my childhood and like, you know, whatever pained me. And I would think of that. And in the moment of starving and feeling all the thorns and everything in my feet and all this crap, I would think about that. And all of a sudden I was no longer present. I would sit there and I would just like feel all that pain from when I was a kid. And then I would think to myself like, well, look at you now, dude. You're in a freaking TV show. I was a scout sniper in the Marine Corps. They try and weed you out when you're a sniper too. And you just shut up. You don't cry. Crying gets you nowhere. And you do push-ups and all that crap, right? And that's honestly what brought me through it, what got me through it. And again, I can sit here and be like sad about it and be a victim and be like, it's because I had a tough childhood. That's what like, or I could have folded and been like, I've been through too much in my life to be doing this too.
Right.
And fold, right? You either use it or you fold, right? And that is legitimately my logic for doing anything hard or badass, right? Mm-hmm. I might not be the best fighter. I had a fighting career. I fought for a long time. Did fight for Bellator. I am a black belt and all that stuff, but I've lost plenty of fights, right? I'm not going to sit here and say I'm the best fighter, but ask anybody that's ever fought me, win or lose, and they're going to be like, that's a tough motherfucker, right?
Right.
Like, even if something was going on mentally and I just didn't pull the trigger and throw the punches I needed to throw that day for whatever reason I was in my own head, better believe I would just like stand there and take them, which isn't like something to brag about, but I never was like, oh, like I would eat the shots, didn't pull the trigger, didn't know what I needed to do, or didn't do what I needed to do, and then, you know, got done with the competition and then been like, fuck, I didn't do A, B, and C, or I was in my own head or whatever, but I didn't like completely just fold,
Yeah.
you know, and quit. And so yeah, dude, that's my logic for just doing tough shit. A lot of it's your upbringing, and even again in the Marine Corps, you have to find ways to psych yourself out. I would think of this is super dark, but they'd be like, if your butt touches the floor, you're done, right? And then I would be like, okay, you have to find ways to motivate yourself. People say stuff like, I want to lose weight. How do you lose weight? And I say, okay, if I were to tell you how much you want to lose, and they're like 20 pounds, I'm like, okay, let's say if I were to hand you a suitcase and it would be full of money, like let's imagine $10 million cash, tax-free, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, and I open up the suitcase and I'm like, okay, cool. You need to lose 20 pounds in 4 weeks. Could you do it? They're like, hell yeah, I do.
Yeah.
And be like, see,
Motivation,
you're capable. Yep. You're literally capable. You just lack the motivation.
Yep.
And so what I would do even in the Marines was you constantly trick yourselves. If your butt hits the floor, you're done. And you're like against the wall and you're shaking. And you just have to start finding ways. You got to dig. And that's what makes people unique. A lot of these people in like special operations or dudes I served with, right, that I knew were tough. I wasn't special operations, but you got to be tough to be a sniper, right? And you just couldn't quit. So they'd be like, if your butt hits, you're done. And I would just start shaking. And then I'd be like, oh man, like my body wants to give out. I know I'm not going to get $1 million, right? Or $10 million. Right. So I'd find something super dark, which probably isn't healthy, but I'm not the only person. I've talked to a lot of my buddies. And I would just imagine a dude like, okay, your butt hits the floor. I shoot your mom in the head. Right. And I would start envisioning that in my head. And then all of a sudden I would just be like, I can't let that happen. Right.
Right.
And so you just got to find ways to continually keep going.
It's the mind, bro. Like
everything is a mindset, dude. Like
mental is so big, bro. It's ridiculous.
And it's like, when you get given a loss, like how do you handle it? What are you going to do? Like you have all the tools that you need. I'm a human. You're a human, right? Everybody on that. Granted, it's a TV show, but that could be seen as metaphorical, right? Like, as long as you don't quit, things will be okay.
Yeah.
Right. In life, in general, right? How many times have you been at the bottom of something and you just didn't quit and you just and then one day just boom.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. And you have such a hardened mind, dude. And you know, a lot of people aren't allowed to do, or not, I'm not going to say allowed, but they're not able to do that these days. You know what I'm saying? Because if they had like your childhood, they'd play the victim. It'd be a victim's mentality. Oh, I had a rough childhood. This is why I'm like this. And this is why I don't do that. But you were like, no, I grew up like this, so I can get through any fucking thing that's thrown at me.
My mom used to be like, I used to say, hey, I'm going to go to Chito's house. And she'd be like, I'm not going to give you a ride. And I'd be like, okay, cool. They're here. They're coming in 10 minutes. And they weren't. And I would wait for her to be on some like other end of the house where she couldn't see outside. And I'd be like, bye, Mom. Love you. They're here for me. And she's like, okay, bye, sweetie. And I would like hug her and kiss her and just like start running out of the house like if they were here for me. And I would leave. And then I would just run to the street corner. And I'd be like, okay. And it wasn't a workout to me. It was just like, okay. And like 110 degree, like I grew up in Laredo, Texas, dude. Like summer, where there was no heat stroke, any thought of it. I was just like, whoa, Chito lives X amount of miles away. And I would just start running. And I would run, dude, like I'm talking 5th, 6th grade. And it was just what I would do, or I would run to like my girlfriend's house at the time. And then I would never ask them for rides home. They would see that I would start walking and be like, what are you doing? Right. And my thing was I would always go to the door. I'd knock. I'd turn on their water hose. Everybody knows you wait for like the first pump. And then there's like an air pocket. And now this water's cool and I can drink it. It doesn't taste as much of a hose as like the beginning.
Right.
But dude, I did that growing up. And then one day our football coach timed us for the mile run. And like I beat everybody. Like it was the whole football team. And then there was a couple track stars. And I like smoked everybody. And I got back and I was all, and my coach was like, holy shit, you're going to be my mile runner, boy. And I was like, what? And so 8th grade sounds unbelievable, but I was also 118 pounds, right? I ran a 4:49, was the fastest mile I ever ran.
Damn.
Right? All my track meets, I would get like 5:08, 5:10, and then I just kept, and then I started trying, but again, I was 118 pounds. I'm like 170 right now, right?
Right.
And I haven't run in, I don't know how long, but it was just, what I'm saying is like, that's why I was so freaking good at track. And like, I ran in one race, I ran the mile and a half, the half mile, and the mile, right? But again, it wasn't even, it was just like, again, like I didn't have rides. So it's just like, I had rides, but my mom would be like, I'm not, so I just would never like want to inconvenience her. Oh, they're here for me.
Right.
And you get older and you're like, damn, that's badass. Like, can you imagine if I did that now? Like, all right, bro, I'll be at your house. I'd literally
call me at 6 a.m. here in San Antonio. Like, I'm going to be there in about 5 hours. I'll be there in a bit.
Yeah. I was picking up poop like last week with my dogs. I literally went to pick up poop. My back went out and I was like, at the Pearl. I was like in San Antonio, and like there's like 3 hot girls and they're like, oh, your dog's so cute. And I was just like, and I just pulled my guy, come here, Rona, let's walk away. Like, and I walked and I was just like, cool. I was like, I was picking up crap and I blew my back out. Right.
You're walking like your dad bent you over and stuck it in.
He's like, come here, teach you a lesson, boy. And I was like, what?
Yeah. But and you rescued dogs too, right? You're a dog rescuer also.
I do.
That's great, man. How many? You still have? You have 5 dogs?
I have 3 right now.
3?
3, yeah. 2 are mine. 1 I'm trying to get her adopted. Shakira, right? I'd love to, but she wants to kill my little dog, so I got to keep them separated all the time. She's a good dog.
What kind of dogs?
One's a huge pit bull. He's like 90 pounds from a junkyard. Pulled him from a junkyard. We had asked around, and everybody's like, I think he belongs to that junkyard. And dude, he was skin and bones. San Antonio summer, like 5 years ago. No hair, lower half of his body, right? He had heartworms, he had skin parasites and intestinal parasites. Ears were cut clean off. Had like blood all over his face. Was like legit just tiny. Skin and bone, malnourished. And they're like, yeah, he's in that junkyard. He's there 24/7. And I was like, yeah, no, fuck no.
Yeah.
Sweet, right? Sweet dog. So had to spend like $3,000 on medical bills. And I was like, all right, I'm going to get him up to speed. Then I'm going to give him up for adoption. And then when it was time, I was like, I even found the dude and he introduced his kids and everything was cool. And then the day it was supposed to happen, I'm like, I can't do it, dude. Sorry. And he's like, I feared that would happen. All right, that's cool. And that was it. And then I found a little dog in a box, kept her, Rona.
Rona? Did you find her like during the...
Day 13 of the pandemic.
There it is.
They were like, flatten the curve, 2 weeks. And I was like, Rona, it would be so funny. And then I started walking her around and would be like, I'd go to the pro and girls would be like, oh my God, so cute. What's her name? And I'd be like, Rona. It's short for coronavirus. And at the time, it was just people were terrified, dude.
Yeah.
And they'd be like, that's not funny. And I was like, I think it's funny.
Yeah, it's fucking hilarious. That's great.
Uh,
How did you, when all this pandemic happened, so many people went through so many emotions and all that shit. Like, were you just like, whatever, cool, I'm chilling now? Or like, what was your mindset then?
I never cared, to be honest. I was like, we're all going to die. If I die, I die. Never got it.
Yeah.
Never social distance, right? I killed your grandma, yes. And then and then like a month and some change ago, I finally got it. I got sick for 3 days. For sure sucked. It's been over a month. I'm still testing negative and my throat is still sore.
All right, super spreader. I might get corona after this. It's cool.
No, I'm testing negative, but like I went to the doctor and they were like,
I've had it twice. It's all good.
So the doctor was like, yeah, this kind of happens to some people. There's a lot of lingering effects. So I just feel like I nonstop have something like only on one side of my throat.
Yeah.
And they looked at my throat and they're like, it's not that bad. I'm like, okay. And I shaved my head because I got COVID. I know it doesn't make sense, but I just was like coughing a bunch. I was like, I can't breathe. So I shaved my head. And then
you were on Naked and Afraid, man. Nothing has to fucking make sense.
Yeah, I know. So I shaved my head, and then this girl, it was like, wow, catches a cold, looks and acts like he's got cancer. And I was like, oh, like, you know, there's that whole joke of like men can't handle colds.
Right.
Or colds, yeah.
Yeah.
So I was like, oh, and I just grabbed the clippers and I just looked in the mirror and impulsively shaved my head.
Jeez.
And she made fun of me like, wow, you got COVID, so you shaved your head, you fucking pussy. And I was like, all right, whatever. I was like, I hope I die just so you feel bad.
Right. Yeah, that'd have been great. Not really, because he wouldn't have been here, but it's cool. Now I know on the Marines that when I was watching, I saw that on your first patrol as a Marine, you said that you got blown up. Like, what happened? Like, walk me through that, because I'm kind of curious about that.
Man, I was just walking. No, I was driving. I'm sorry. And let me see. It was first patrol I ever did. I'm 19. Right, I'm 19 years old. I look back, you're like 19. Jeez. I was a teenager, dude.
19.
Like, holy fuck. But anyway, yeah, I joined at 18. I joined at 17, signed up at 17, and my mom had a sign for me. I've said this story like multiple times, but my mom had a sign for me, and she cried. She's like, are you sure this is what you want? I'm like, yes. And then she signs, and she hugs me, and she cries, and I remember thinking, like, she hugged me so tight, but I remember I looked up and I was just kind of like, yeah, all right, whatever. Like, didn't care. I was I was a child, 17. Then I go overseas, and my first patrol I ever did, we were like dropping off some prisoners that some other unit caught, and we're just like gonna drop them off. And so we go over some bridge, and we're relieving a unit, so we do like the first couple patrols are their last patrols, and we kind of tag along and they show us stuff. And I remember we went over a bridge and they're like, hey, are you ready? I'm like, ready for what? And then we just kept driving. And then he goes, nothing happens. We cross this bridge and they go, oh, never mind. And right when he said that, like, an explosion went off, right? Like, boom. And it was like, wasn't scary because I'd seen the explosions, but normally like in training, we like lob them one direction.
Mm-hmm.
And so it was like one kind of close to us. It was like, boom. And I remember being like, and the driver stopped. And then the guy says, oh, never mind. They're just late today. And he's just so casual about it. Excuse me. And I remember being like, what the hell is that? Like, you're confused, you know? And then the second one goes off, and I'm still not scared because I'm like, what is that?
Right.
And it gets closer. And then my buddy that I'm with, my buddy Green, was like, first one, he's like, IED, because it was blew up close to the truck. And then the second one blows up, boom. He's like, daisy chain, which means that they hook multiple IEDs up.
Mm-hmm.
But they're like not close enough to be IEDs. They're like a little far off the road.
Yeah.
So they're trying to hit us. So it's like one goes off, IED, second one goes off. He goes daisy chain. Then the third one goes off even closer. And he just goes, And my squad leader had just gone back from Fallujah, biggest battle of the Iraq War. And so he's like, you fucking idiot. Those are you fucking idiot? That's incoming, you stupid boot. Like real calm, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then he tells the driver, what are you doing? Fucking idiot, push. We're fucking getting mortared, you dumbass. And the guy, what's that? And he's like, push, you fucking idiot. And then like we drive off. And I remember I kind of sank down in my seat a little bit. And we had this little light sheet of armor. It was like super thin. And then my buddy was like, welcome to Iraq, Governale. And he just slapped me on the leg real calm. I remember being like, whoa, cool, right? Nothing, I mean, nobody was hurt.
Mm-hmm.
So we drop off the prisoners. And then on the way back, we're taking the same route. And I'm like, I have my weapon outboard. And I'm just like super pumped up. And everybody else is laughing at me, making fun of me because I'm like new guy overseas and they'd already been there.
Mm-hmm.
So I have my weapon over the side and I'm just like looking for like, I thought I was going to be in nonstop combat and it's hours of just silence.
Yeah.
And then right when I put my rifle down on the truck and I remember thinking to myself like, this isn't that bad. This is actually kind of boring. And I swear like right when I thought that I just blacked out. And then, man, I don't know. Like, I think over the years, I don't know if my brain has developed a narrative or not, but swear to God, like the way that I remember it was first I saw a flash and then I was knocked out. I saw black and then I could smell smoke. I could smell the sulfur.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember just being like, that's a very weird smell, like, which later on in life was like, oh, okay, sulfur. Like, so now when I smell sulfur, I'm like, oh, it smells like when you get blown up. And so, yeah, I smelled the smoke. And then I started thinking like, oh, it's not time for school yet. Like, I love when this happens. I thought I was a senior in high school, no recollection of joining the Marine Corps. And I thought I woke up like at 3 a.m. in my room and I looked around and I thought I saw like I could half see and I saw my stupid track medals everywhere. And
Yeah.
I had like I don't even like basketball, but I had like a Penny Hardaway poster. Like, I literally don't like basketball. Like I played for 6 years, I scored 0 points. Right, swear to God.
Yeah.
I stopped growing in 8th grade, so like, anyway. So I guess it was just like the cool thing to do to be like, yeah, I'm a boy. I play basketball, sports.
Right.
And so I like look around my room. And I'm like, oh, I love when this happens. I still have a few more hours of sleep. And then I fucking realized that I'm like, wait a minute. And then I just hear my squad leader say, hey, we just hit an IED. Is everyone all right? And I'm like, shh. And like my consciousness comes back, but I'm still like my mental consciousness was back because I heard him and I could smell, but I couldn't move and I was still unconscious.
Jeez.
And I saw like all black. And then I remember being like, that moment where my mom hugged me popped back into my head. And then the moment popped in where I'm like, where my mom and my sister, when they said bye to me at the airport, my little sister hugged me and she's like, I hope nothing bad happens to you. And she started crying, but she was like 7, right? 7 or 8.
Mm-hmm.
And I like hugged her and I was like, I'll be okay. And I turned. And what's interesting was when I walked to the plane, because you go home before for a few days. And when I walked to the plane, I didn't turn around and like wave at them because I was like crying, you know?
Uh-huh.
And I didn't want them to see that I was crying. You know, I had to be like, I'm super hard.
Right.
And
be
so that,
strong.
yeah. And so that moment popped into my head. And so all that, like, I'm unconscious. And then I start thinking like, is this what it's like to be dead? And I started thinking like, oh, this isn't that bad, right? It doesn't hurt. At least it doesn't hurt. And I was like, oh, okay. And then I'm like, wait, hey God, if you're up there, can you just give me like, and for some reason I said the number 5. I was like, hey, oh man, my mom's going to be so sad. And then I said, if you're up there, can I just have 5 more days to say goodbye? And like, that's not why I woke up. Cause to be honest, I don't really believe in any form of organized religion, but it's just interesting that like, that's the exact moment where it's like, shh, and then I just snapped out of it and I was in it fucking hurts, dude, to be honest.
Yeah.
And so I'm like waking up and you're like, oh, like what fucking happened? And then my team leader's like yelling like, hey, everyone get the fuck out of the truck. It's going to blow. And then like, so first thing you do is you like check your body, you check your balls, which anybody that's ever been blown up, if they're watching this, they know. First thing you do, it's like, boom, you go like this and then you grab your balls and then you go, whew, and then you pause. You don't just like look right away, right? You like do this and then you pause. It's almost like, it's like an AIDS test. You're like, I don't want to know, right?
Yeah.
And so you do it, and then you pause, and then I looked at my hands, and I was like, oh, fuck yeah, I don't see red. And then the second thing I did was I felt the ground, and I grabbed my rifle, and then I turned to the guy next to me, and he's like fucking having a seizure, right?
Jeez.
He's like bleeding out of his nose and his mouth, and he's like fucking, and I remember being like, green's hit, and they're like, shut the fuck up, get out of the truck. And I was like, and I ran out, I got security, and that was that. You know, that was my first patrol I ever did.
Dude.
I got a cheesy ass Purple Heart for it. It was actually cheesy because somebody gets shot or they die or they lose a limb and they get a Purple Heart. And I had a fucking blood in my ear and they were like, here's a Purple Heart.
Participation trophy, Purple Heart.
It fucking sucks, bro. So like what they did was 2 weeks in the country, 2 weeks after we were there on deployment. They had a ceremony, like an award ceremony for me. And they're like, on my command, fall out and congratulate these Marines. And I didn't even know I was getting the award. They just like lined up a formation. They called me out and I was like, what the fuck? Purple Heart? What for what?
Right.
To my credit, I couldn't hear anything for like a week. I just kept, they'd be like, halt on patrol, and I would just keep going. I couldn't hear it. And they're like, you're fucking malingering, Governale. And then they forced me to go to medical, and they're like, oh yeah, you fucking blow out your eardrum. Okay, cool. So what's funny is they're like, fall out and congratulate these Marines. A lot of these dudes got like grazed with bullets, like on the face, didn't get a Purple Heart, had shrapnel still lodged in their fucking spine,
Jeez.
didn't get a Purple Heart, like, you know, because they were like in heavy fighting in Fallujah. And they treat you like shit when you haven't been to combat yet. And so it was funny. They were like, fall out and congratulate this Marine. And they're supposed to be like, and one by one, every Marine in the platoon was like, fucking pussy. And the next one would be like, oh, we're drinking buddies now, huh? And be like, oh, I guess you're right now, huh, Governale? And then they would walk up and be like, boot. And they just one by one degraded me. And occasionally, one of the Marines would be like, good shit, Governale. And like would shake my hand, and then the next one would be like, pussy. And just one by one, I had to listen to everyone just shit on me. Like, and I was like,
If I could throw away your Purple Heart afterwards, man, fuck this shit, man.
I wanted to, and then I got in trouble when I was over there, and they made me play these stupid games. And they're like, dump out everything in your sea bag. And I put it in the very bottom of my like pack that we have on deployment. Mm-hmm. And I dumped everything out because they're just making me like dump it out, pack it, because I was looking for my ID, because I fucking got blown up a second time and a third later. But the second time,
jeez, bro.
I left my ID at a hospital. And so I was like, I know where it is. I know. And they were like, nope, we're going to find it on our day off in Iraq. So they just were hazing me pretty much, which, whatever. I shouldn't have lost my ID, right?
Yeah.
And I fucking dumped my bag. And on the very bottom of the bag, everything, it's like all like kind of beat up already. The case was a Purple Heart, right? And then my squad leader was like, he's like, Governor, why the fuck do you just have your Purple Heart on the bottom of your sea bag in that condition? And I was like, well, I don't really feel like I deserve it, Corporal. And he's like, you mother. And then they just, him and a sergeant just lay into me like, my friends died. They're all PTSD'd out, right? So they're like, my friends died for that award. You fucking stupid boot. So then they ordered me to carry it with me 24/7 when I was not on patrol. So we fucking, the second I was off patrol, they'd be like, go get your Purple Heart, Governor. And I would carry around the award and the fucking Purple Heart. And I had to physically carry it with me everywhere.
Fuck, dude.
And then,
assholes.
and then one day the lieutenant walks by our platoon. It had been like 2 weeks. And he's like, hey, Governor, why do you carry your Purple Heart everywhere you go? And I was like, well, now, Corporal, and I won't say his full name, but like, yeah, Corporal Z and Sergeant F both told me to carry it 24/7, and I was like all happy to dime them out, right? Although I grew up not to be a rat, but I was like, fuck y'all. If I have one opportunity to get you all back, I will right now.
Right.
And so I dimed them out, and then they were like, Governor, put that away ASAP. That's an order. And I was like, aye, sir, you know. And then sure enough, they both grabbed me and they're like, hey, come here, Governor. And they're so overly nice to me. They're always so mean to me, but they're like, hey, Governor, hey, I just want to let you know that you don't have to carry anymore, but I was just trying to teach you a lesson. Do you understand? And they're just so soft spoken. And I know damn well what happened. They fucking ripped them, and I was like, yeah, bitch, fuck you. That's really what happened, right? So yeah, that's my Purple Heart story.
Fuck you, Corporal Z and Sergeant F.
Yeah, they're actually we became friends later.
Oh, okay. They're actually dead. I was like, oh no, I'm sorry.
No, actually, they actually both they both killed themselves, but
no, that's cool. You know,
no, they're actually like awesome leaders, bro. They're awesome fucking leaders. It's just I feel like I'm not in the Marine Corps now, so I can't speak just from what I've heard. It's kind of gone a little bit soft or whatever, but dude, hazing works, man.
Yeah, no, it does.
Hazing works. It's like
it does.
It's like getting beat up by your older brother or something, you know.
Right.
Like, don't do that, and then you do it, and he smacks you, and he's like, don't do that, and you do it, and he smacks you, and then you're thinking about doing it, and then he's like, all right, I just won't do it, you know.
I need that shit, man. Like the motivational speakers or whatever the fuck you want to call them, the people who like talk shit to you of like you're fucking up. One of my favorite people is
just get a girlfriend.
Yeah, I'm all right. Fuck that. One of my favorite people is fucking David Goggins. I love David Goggins because he gives it to you straight and tells you like it is, and that is what I need somebody to be like, you're being a fucking pussy. You're being a fat fuck. Get out there and get it. You know what I'm saying? So What you look like you're thinking about something with David Goggins when I said that. When do you think?
No. I listened to his audiobook when I was running and stuff. He's a badass dude.
He is. He's fucking amazing. Him and Jocko, man. I love Jocko too. Jocko just doesn't like. He's not gonna talk shit to you like Goggins. And sometimes I need that shit talking to get me in line.
Yeah, they're both. I mean, yeah, you just it's a mentality, it's a mindset. I know a lot of people like in the veteran community, right? A lot of people hate on them, and I'm like, why the fuck are you hating on them? You're some random dude with 400 Instagram followers,
right?
You have no social influence. Fuck that guy, fucking this, fucking. I'm like, bro, they're super motivational, and they hit a certain demographic, and they're killing it in life. So, excuse me, they have products like to work out. Yep. They've written fucking books. They're changing people's lives because maybe the right person hears their story, right? But it's real shit, man. Like, I don't think they're bullshitting. I think they're just so overtly honest, and they put everything out there, whether people like it or not.
Right.
And then sometimes people hate, and they're like, "You think I give a fuck?"
Yeah.
Oh, hold on, let me cry with my fucking money that I earned. Right. Fucking, it's good shit, dude.
You know, Goggins will put a mixtape together and listen to all the negativity and shit just to like. You know, he'll read the comments from Instagram and then puts them on a mix, and then he listens to them so he can wake up and work out the next morning. Like, he's crazy, bro. He's insane.
That's what I'm saying. Like, in my mind, it's like your butt can't hit the floor, and it's like pistol to the head of my mom, and I'd be like, oh, you gotta get fucking crazy, and to be like that age, still just murdering it, you know, like you gotta be fucking crazy. You gotta be like, yeah, feed me. It's like or something. And obviously, he talked about his upbringing too, right? And like. His father beat him and all that stuff, right? Or mom would date dudes that would beat him and stuff. Yeah.
And then like he saw that kid when he was in elementary school, like get his head ran over by the bus driver. Yeah, and dude, that's fucking like he went through a lot of shit. And when he was coming out of it, his mom met a really good dude, and then he got murdered. And it's just like,
yeah, I remember that,
dude. It's insane, like the stuff that he went through. But he's big on like not playing the victim either, you know. So
I mean, you can.
Yeah, all day.
Go cry on the internet or go to a fucking rally and cry and say how hurt you are. That's cool. You could take that time,
right,
and like maybe make a difference somewhere. Right. Like if you're so fucking concerned, you could take. And I'm not saying that like protests are wrong or whatever. I just mean like the crybaby mentality, like all that time you use to like be hurt or be a victim. You can't say that because how about you just shut the fuck up?
Yeah, and
you use that. You make a fucking mixtape to fuel you or some shit. You know, like I don't know.
Yeah, I met Jocko before I actually knew who he was. He came to my old job. I used to work at Facebook, and my old roommate, he literally got Jocko up there because he's like, I work at Facebook. We wanted to have a little consultation and interview with you. And he was in town, and he came to the establishment, and he went up there, and like I was like, dude, how the fuck did you do? He's like, dude, I don't know. And so we went in there, and like he was talking, and like he gave like a little speech. I'm sure once he got there, he's like, this motherfucker, like this isn't even a legit thing. I thought we were like going to Facebook to talk to a big group of people. It was like a meeting room with like maybe 20 to 30 people there. And I asked him a question, and I was like, I'm a comedian. I'm trying to do comedy full time. I was like, do you have any advice for people who like should go after their dreams? And I really want to do comedy full time and not worry about any full time jobs. And he said, literally 2 words: be funnier. And I was like, what? And he like everybody started laughing. He's like, be funnier. He's like, you're not a full time comedian because you are not. If you were hilarious, then you would be good and you would be out and you would make a way. He's like, be funnier.
Yeah.
And I was like,
you gotta bet on yourself, man.
Dick. I was like, all right, man, whatever, asshole. You know. So
it's like I got a good friend of mine. His name's Patty, right? Solid dude, and he fights professionally as well. Patrick Ferguson, but he's always telling me like, bet on yourself, bro. Like, and that involves going all in, right?
Mm-hmm.
I feel part of my career with fighting. You get what you're going to put out, right? If you lose half your fights, it's because you're 1 foot in, 1 foot out the whole time, right? And the fights that I just completely murdered it, I was like sleeping on someone's floor, paying them $200 a month, and their dog would run out and literally pee on me when I was sleeping.
Jeez.
Right? Or you can have solid job or be in school full time, and like, I'm not saying that it's not okay to just constantly grind and hustle. I just mean like, to your point, you have to go all in.
Yeah.
Like you have to.
Yep.
Right. And then you got to bet on yourself, man. Even my YouTube right now, I'm like, I'm going to start building it. I've been saying it forever. I post these shit videos. I don't get anything. all of a sudden I drive to Guatemala, I film everything, and I'm paying a dude $400 a week to chop my content up. And the second I'm like, I need 1,000 followers, I went from 220 to like 952 right now in literally 2 weeks.
Yeah.
And I put out 2 videos, $400 each. I paid out of pocket. I'm going to pay another $400 this weekend. You know what I'm saying? I'm taking all this extra money with my salary that I could be doing whatever I want with.
Yeah.
And I'm just funneling it back.
Yep.
Right?
That's what it is.
And then I'm doing the comedy, and then I'm going to go hit Mothership, right?
Comedy Mothership.
Yeah, Comedy Mothership. I said it backwards, but the comedy Mothership mic right now. Hopefully I get on. If you don't, sign up for Kill Tony. Hopefully I get on. If I don't, drive my ass back. Fucking hit LOL mic tomorrow. Like, you just gotta go all in.
It's
you
a
can't.
grind.
Yeah,
it is, man. When I quit my job in 2019, like I didn't have like anything really planned, you know, and I mean, I did to the point of like, okay, I know I'm gonna have to book more shows, but like literally just took a leap of faith, and I quit in March of 2019. Literally a year later, the pandemic happened. I was about to be on my first nationwide tour, and it canceled all the dates, and then I was fucked. You know what I'm saying? So it's one of those things, man, that like if you're gonna take that leap of faith, you just got to go through it, go through the motions. You know what I'm saying? Be as positive as you can to yourself, and just keep waking up and keep going and keep pushing. Even now, dude. I mean, that post that I made the other day, you know, I'm investing in myself. That's why my account is hitting the negatives, you know. But I mean, all this shit costs, dude. You know what I'm saying?
1,000%.
If I didn't invest in all of this, like I would have been good. I would have had money in the bank. I would have been good. But I was like, fuck that. Like I didn't quit my job to only like do a few shows and be like, okay, cool, and then go back and get a job. Dude, I want to do this shit for life, for a living. And I'm making a living, and I'm very blessed to be able to pay my bills and keep the lights on by doing comedy. But at the same time, like, I didn't quit my job in 2019 to fucking play it safe. That's not. I'm going all the way the fuck in.
You know Vanessa Gonzalez. She tours with Chelsea Handler.
Oh yes.
So she's my best friend from high school. Right, and she's murdering it on the comedy scene. Right, she's already been on Comedy Central several times and all over TV, whatever. Right, but we're best friends in high school, and she got class clown in high school.
Yeah.
Right. And then she was doing kind of the half in, half out comedy thing for like years. And then she was a teacher. She was playing it safe. And then one day she was just like, I'm quitting my teaching job. And I was like, I'm doing what? And she's like, comedy full time. Moved to LA, like shared a studio with somebody, started doing shows. By the time you know it, she's touring with Chelsea Handler, and she went all in, bro. And she's telling me like she's making 10 grand a show sometimes, you know, and I'm just like, that's dope. Yeah, that is so dope. But can you imagine if she just, to your point, was still a teacher doing like these little night gigs? And I'm not saying like you have to be strategic about it. You have to see that there's traction there. And once you're like, all right, the traction's there, the iron's hot, boom, let's go. But if you just wait too long, you know, you're going to miss your opportunity. It's like that Eminem song, you know?
Yeah.
Like fucking Daniel Velasquez, right? Comic. Does Kill Tony 2 weeks ago. I drive up with him. He does a 1-minute set, does so well that Tony's like, hey, you want to open up for me at the Tobin Center August 18th or whatever, right? Dope as shit, but like literally 1 fucking minute changed his life. 1 minute, right? Yep. And if he kills it at the Tobin Center, his 7 minutes will change his life, right? And it's just, you have to seize that fucking opportunity, right?
That is.
It's like that, and again, it's like that Eminem Lose Yourself song. Like, you gotta, it's like so cliche, but it's like, there's power to that shit, you know?
There is, man. I mean, when the pandemic happened and that whole like tour got canceled, I was playing the victim's mentality. I was like, man, why? And I am like a religious person, you know. I pray and I journal, I do all that, and I remember like leading up to it, I you know, talked to God about it, like if this tour isn't for me, then I don't want it. And then it got taken away from the pandemic, and I was upset about it, and I was like, why am I sitting here upset when I literally said, if this isn't for me, take it away? And so I just kind of like, you know what, I'm gonna keep the faith. I busted my ass during the pandemic. I started a live show. I did Thirsty Thursdays. I was taking shots for $50 to make money, to make ends meet. I had to cap it at 10 shots of whiskey because if not, I'd fucking die. And then I started getting into skits, and then I did like this whole thing, like 2 months straight. I released 1 to 3 skits a day for 2 months straight. Just boom, boom, boom. That shit completely changed my life. And it's all about hard work and not being a victim and just fucking pushing through it, man. You got to take that moment and opportunity and fucking do what you got to do.
I'm on the cusp, man. I'm only 4 years in for comedy, but right now I'm developing my traction.
Yeah.
Right. Everybody's like, move to Austin. Definitely a next move.
Right.
I feel like Austin is so saturated with comics.
Yes.
That you move there without any experience. You're just another dude like doing any random show for $20.
Yeah.
So like I've got LOL this Wednesday. I'm doing it this Thursday. I did it last Sunday. I did San Diego this last Saturday. Like
What'd you do? Mic drop?
In San Diego.
Yeah.
I did. It was for Vet TV.
Oh, okay.
It's like a Netflix but for veterans. It's like a veteran humor.
Oh,
thing.
dope.
So I did my first taping. Made my first whatever. I won't disclose it but I made my first decent check ever for a 10-minute set. I was like, dope. And it's going to go on like a TV thing. And so what I'm saying is like, I'm getting my traction. And once I have all these accolades, I'm like getting booked left and right. Then I'm making my move to Austin. And then you start all over again for sure. Cause there's a lot of funny comics, but you're not just like, oh, are you going to hit some, cause people mistake the grind with the payout often.
Yeah.
People, they and I've fallen victim to this as well. It's like you fall in love with the idea of the grind. And so before I was like fighting full time, and then I was like driving for Uber, and then I was a bouncer, and then I was a janitor, and like I was doing whatever I could. And I was like, the grind. And it's like, excuse me. It's like, what is the payout? Just barely keeping the lights on and being like a average fighter. You know what I mean? It's like, and so now people are like, multiple sources of income, and they're just like, and you could do all the things I just talked about for 10 years, and in 10 years you're still a fucking Uber driver, right? Which is, there's nothing wrong with that if that's what you're trying to do. But you have to start looking at the bigger picture, and that's where the grind makes sense. So right now I'm on the grind. I'm driving up to Austin. I could do anything else on a Monday.
Yeah. Right.
I stop in here, boom, I'm gonna hit Comedy Mothership, boom, I'm gonna hit Kill Tony, boom. Now the grind is all my time that I've put into it. If I don't go up on Kill Tony, that's fine. I'm still doing the work. But if I do, and you seize that 1 minute and it goes well, your payout is going to be way bigger than just being like, I've heard people before be like, I hit 9 open mics a week. And then in 6 months, they're still hitting 9 open mics a week. And I'm like, what are you doing with your grind for the sake of grinding? Mm-hmm. Like there has to be something strategic there, right? Yeah. Like, there needs to be some strategy for it. Like go all in. I'm all for it. But obviously line yourself up, like see the big picture. Don't just have an unrealistic goal like, I'm gonna quit my job, I'm gonna be a full-time comedian, and I'm gonna be the most famous comic out there. You need to be realistic with yourself and set up these smaller incremental goals. Yep. And once you obtain a smaller obtainable goal, your brain and mind knows like, okay, that was obtainable, what's the next jump up? And you can get here if that's like an idea of where you want to go. Yeah. But without all these small goals in between, you're setting yourself up for failure. Yeah. Right, which I've done. I was like one time, threw everything in my vehicle, drove to California with $400. Was fucking broke as shit. It was so bad. It was most miserable time of my life. And I was back in Texas like 2 months later. My mom was like, are you okay? What happened? I lost like 20 pounds. I was like pale. She's like, what's wrong with your skin? I was eating like nothing but like one egg a day, 1 pack of ramen a day, right? Damn. And I had like instant coffee. I couldn't afford shit. I would go to my friends' houses, and then they'd all be like around, and I'd like open the fridge, like, hey man, you mind if I make a sandwich? You'd be like, yeah. And I would just like, or it's my roommates, and I would look around, I'd like roll up some bologna and cheese, and I would like, oh, I feel right. So you got to be strategic. You can't just like drop everything and be like, I have no money, I'm just gonna do it. It's like save your money, right? Have a plan and go. Yeah, right. That's kind of where I'm at. But
well, I know you'll figure it out, man. I know you'll figure out the comedy life and everything because you have the mentality for it. So, and you don't back down. So, yeah, I'm excited to see where it takes you. And I could literally talk to you for like another 30 or 45 minutes, but I know that you got to get to the Comedy Mothership. But this is and was the season finale of season 1. So I appreciate you coming on, man. It's been great talking to you, and I look forward to talking to you more in the future. Yeah, we'll get you on maybe season 2 or season 3. For right now, look into that camera and tell everybody where they can follow you and find you.
At Justin Governale on Instagram, Twitter, JJ Governale everywhere else, which would be TikTok and YouTube. YouTube is the real big one I'm trying to build right now, that I am building, right? Words have meaning. Yeah. That's my next thing right now is YouTube. I'm building that, but everything complements each other. And again, we talked about this. You can be the funniest comic, cool, but if you don't promote yourself in a certain manner, you're not gonna launch yourself. That's the day and age we live in.
Yeah.
Right. Like everybody hates on Matt Rife right now. I'm like, he's murdering it, dude.
He's fucking killing it.
Murdering it.
So happy for that guy.
Yeah, and he kills it, but he did it in another way. Like he'd been doing comedy for years and years, blew up on TikTok. Now he's selling the world out. Fuck yeah, dude. Get it.
Come on, dude.
Right? Get it.
Yep.
So that's where I'm at.
Yeah, y'all follow him. And I called you Governale in the very beginning, so that's on me. Justin Governale.
Everybody, oddly enough, calls me Governale.
Really?
My whole life. My coaches, girls I meet, like my friend groups, they'll call me Governale or Gov, like on the group chats. I'm like, I never even tell them to either. It just kind of happens. Kind of cool.
Yeah. Hell yeah. Well, y'all follow him, man. And watch the episode, season 15, episode 2 on Naked and Afraid. It's on HBO Max, so free plug for those guys. But thanks again for following. Like and subscribe if you like what you saw, and follow on Spotify or wherever you're listening to if you like what you heard. We'll see y'all later, man. Have a good one. Be blessed.
Boom.
Nope.
Hell yeah.
Now we getting busy, bridging the gap. Cooler than the polar bear. Born in the game.